Welcome to Opening Doors. Earl Bennett here, and it's always cool to connect with former alumni. As we're out at practice, there's a lot of buzz out there. I'm standing next to a guy. It's like, hey, that's a former alumni. Played quarterback, played defensive back, now leading a powerhouse, football team over at Nashville Christian. Please welcome Jeff Brothers to the show. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Earl. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to get on the show with you today and get back involved with Vanderbilt football for sure.
Yeah, as we're out on the field, I'm kind of, pushing my son like, hey, I have a 10-year-old son that's, up and coming. Maybe he be a wide receiver. Maybe you turn him into, that next defensive end type rush edge player that, we're starting to see to change the game a little bit. But it was really exciting to have you at practice.
It was great to be there, and I'm telling you, I've got a spot for him. So you bring him whenever you're ready. We'll plug him right in and get going.
Absolutely. So Opening Doors is really about connecting with former alumni players to see where they are in life, but also to kind of really see how Vanderbilt impacted their lives. So just tell us a little bit of how you ended at Vanderbilt.
Well, I'm a Nashville guy, Earl. I was born right downtown, what's called St. Thomas Midtown Hospital now. It used to be Baptist. Been here my whole life. I grew up and played high school ball right down there at Brentwood Academy. A lot of guys in the program may be familiar with that place. And then had opportunities to play, but it's kind of like playing in high school. You're playing in front of your family, the people you grew up with, your hometown, and you get that kind of buzz of playing, in front of the people that know you best. And so when Vanderbilt was an opportunity, I thought, why would I not play in front of the hometown crowd? Continue that on. Of course, as most people that are involved with the Vanderbilt program over the last 30 years know, my mother works at Vanderbilt, Miss Beverly, and she's probably more famous certainly than I am over there. So it was kind of a natural fit. And then, of course, the educational draw, the opportunity to be in Nashville, such a great city, and even, gosh, it's been 30 years, but even then, Nashville was such a great place to live and to play and to go to school. And so it seemed like a natural fit, and I would not change anything about it. It was a great opportunity, and it was a lot of fun.
So you come to Vanderbilt as a quarterback, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Was a quarterback in high school, won 2 state championships as a quarterback. Thought that was going to be the career path, at least at the college level, and signed that way and was looking forward to it. Yeah.
So let's talk about the position a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, we have a quarterback competition going on, as you were able to witness. I want to know what type of quarterback was Jeff Brothers at Vanderbilt. What were you a dual threat guy? Were you a on the move quarterback? Were you a pocket passer? What type of quarterback?
What's really funny is, I'm an old fella. So back in the 80s, late 80s, when I was in high school in the early 90s, there wasn't a lot of dual threat ideas. Some guys could scramble, and that was impressive. But we didn't really design offenses around guys that could do both things very accurate or very well. So came in as a pro style quarterback, passing quarterback. That's what we were in high school. Signed with Watson Brown back in 1989, and then Jerry DiNardo came in and brought the iBone from Colorado. Back in the early 90s, it was all it was their version of the triple option. It was the iBone instead of the wishbone, and so we kind of implemented that. And I was doing well with that. I didn't mind running the football. Actually started 4 games and played in 5 games my sophomore year. But to be honest, and this is probably a good message, I wasn't ready. I didn't take advantage of the opportunity I had at an early time to get in and get playing time. We did okay, but we didn't do well enough. And I was, kind of fighting for that starting position and just wasn't ready. And that was my fault. And I don't blame anybody for that except myself. And so finished that season in a backup role and still on special teams doing some extra point field goal stuff, and really learned a lot from that experience to say, even though we changed offenses and it wasn't my style, I had an opportunity and I didn't take advantage of it. So fortunately, though, as I'm sure you're going to get to, I had a second chance at a second life there on the football team, and that was really a lot of fun.
Yeah. So talk about that a little bit too, right? Transitioning from quarterback to defensive back. There's some guys that make their transition seamless, right? There's some guys that struggle with it. How were you able to adjust?
A lot of credit to my coaches. Ron Case was our defensive back coach at the time. We were going into the spring of would have been my redshirt sophomore season. They talked to me about, and obviously he's still in the quarterback room. And then Coach Case came to me and said, I'm thinking about asking you to come to play free safety. Would you think about that, or what would you think about that? And I said, Coach, as long as I have a chance to play, wherever you think I'll fit best and serve the team best, then let's go. And Coach Case was a phenomenal person, first and foremost, and a great football coach. And I felt comfortable that he could get me ready. And that was sort of an audition time in that spring practice to see if it was going to fit right. If I felt right, they all told me, if you didn't feel good about it at the end of spring practice, then we transition back to quarterback and go that route. But wound up having a lot of fun. It's a lot more fun being the hunter instead of the hunter in some ways. Unfortunately, athletically, it worked out well. I was able to do it. Had whatever qualities they were looking for. Didn't mind the physicality of playing in the secondary. I could run a little bit. Wound up returning punts, being a starting punt returner, so that was a lot of fun as well. But that's a fun place to be back there when all the eyes are on you and 11 guys running 40 yards trying to take your head off. That's an adrenaline rush. I got to play some free safety in the spring. Loved it. Wound up being the starter there. Went into the fall and went on from there for 2 straight years. Started at free and returned punts and had a great time.
See, I think it's awesome to really highlight that, because a lot of players come in high expectation at one position, but when you're an athlete and you're a football player, you can pretty much play anywhere, right? You just have to have that mindset that, hey, look, as you mentioned, I just want to be serviceable to the team. Like, allow me to be able to help this team out in any fashion or form. I'm willing to do it at a very high level. And I think that's really why you were successful. Like you came in with that mindset.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, that was certainly something instilled in me from my family, my parents. Miss Beverly, as you guys know, she's a hard worker and she'll do whatever's asked of her.
Absolutely.
To get the job done, so definitely learned it from her. And my father as well, just the toughness and the work ethic. And then, it is. And I've been coaching high school football now. It's my 28th year going into it.
Nice.
Right now, it's practice scripts for spring practice next week when we start this meet. So, it's in my blood, and it's just something I love to do. And I think very much so. I tell my guys all the time, you don't have to be the best player on the team, you be the best player for the team. And whatever that means, you're asked to do, you do the best you can at it to serve, a purpose bigger than yourself. And I think you have that mindset, and God blesses you with, athletic ability and just a work ethic. You can do well at any position. Now, obviously, I probably couldn't have played offensive guard, but it doesn't mean I wouldn't have gone in there and tried, So quarterback safety transition was nice. It's, understanding scheme and understanding, strategy on a grand scale at quarterback kind of transitions into the free safety role as well. And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't change anything about it for sure.
So, well, Jeff, I always like to ask former alumni, like, what is your favorite or most fondest memory of playing in Dudley Stadium, right? For me, I have so many. I literally, when I think about it, like, there's some games where I didn't have a huge impact, but just to see, some of the other guys make plays and get team wins and victories, like, those are things that really stand out to me, And so I love to ask guys, what are some of their fondest memory, not at other stadiums, but here at Dudley?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned before, I'm a Nashville guy, so every event at Dudley Field was great for me because it was in front of the hometown crowd, and it was in front of people that I'd grown up with and known and were coming to games, and it was a lot easier for them to come to games. And they were probably, a lot of guys that were just Vanderbilt fans growing up anyway, and so I was able to play there and enjoy all those experiences and play against the best talent in the country, play with at Vanderbilt some of the best talent in the country as well at the time. We had guys on our team, our defensive team, that went on to win Super Bowls, and Shelton Quarles and Robert Davis was a great defensive back for us, played in the NFL a little bit. The single game that I remember, I guess, is we played Ole Miss my junior year, and it just happened that I had a pretty good game. Punt return, interception. We had a block field goal that I picked up in return. Got some national recognition for that from Sports Illustrated, and it was just an exciting event. Just the Ole Miss game my junior year was the game that I remember at Vanderbilt. It just seemed like the culmination of all the hard work. But every day is great there, Like I said, you get to play with and against the best talent in the country week in and week out. It's a great experience all the way around.
So Vanderbilt, obviously a top academic institution. I always trying to, ask guys what's some of their favorite spots on campus. And I know campus may have changed a little bit since you were here, but I do know one thing for me is that there's always a few courses that stand out that you take, right? So for me, the one class that really stood out that kind of like shook me a little bit was stats. Like, I haven't been like rattled, like taking a course since probably like elementary school, right? I think
Right.
back to like language arts in like second or third grade. When I got to Vanderbilt, it was like, all right, you're in this stats course, but you not only have to take one, you have to take two stats, right? And I was just like, yo, this is, yeah, I'm at Vanderbilt. I'm at a top institution. What course did you take that hit you and you were just like, yeah, like I'm at Vanderbilt institution, a top prestige academic school.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, it's been 30 years, so I'm gonna have to think a little bit. But I do remember when I started in engineering. I came to Vanderbilt, enjoyed, and that's one thing about Vanderbilt too. You enjoy the challenge and the opportunity athletically playing in the SEC, but you also enjoy the intellectual challenge of going to a place, attending a school like Vanderbilt that's going to challenge you intellectually and push your limits and your boundaries there as well. Started out in engineering, which is what I thought I wanted to do. Had an aptitude for the math and the science part of it. And then when I got into, calculus, like you said, calculus one, okay, then calculus two, then calculus three. And I'm like, hold on now. And they got into differential equations. And I was like, wait. And wound up transitioning out of engineering for other reasons. But certainly when I got there and realized just the depth and breadth of the math that was involved in engineering. But I had great professors that helped along the way. Still remember who some of those guys were. I'm sure they're not there now, but just had a great time, pushing myself and challenging myself academically as well. And my teammates coming right along with me and feeling the same push. And it is a top-notch institution. And there is that moment, like you said, where it hits you in the face, like, okay, this is not high school. And buckle up. And it's great. I think it teaches you a lot of good things about life and work ethic and time management and not selling yourself short on what you can accomplish.